There we go, recording. I'm calling the meeting, the monthly meeting to order at 4:32 in the afternoon. The Bristol County Water Authority. First item is a public input. Is there anyone who wishes to make a comment? I see Jacob Breyer, who's a councilman from Barrington, is joining us. We'll move to number 3 on your agenda, the minutes. Entertain a motion to approve the public hearing minutes of January 28th of 1921.
Move to approve.
Move to approve by Gina. Is there a second?
Second,
Who was that?
Bill.
Bill. Okay, thank you. Any discussion, modifications, questions? Okay, all those in favor, raise your hand. See if I can get a count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Gina said yes.
Yes.
I think we got it covered. It's passed.
Hey, Ellen, can I just mention for a moment that Joe, you're not until later in the agenda. If you want to wait a bit, that would be fine.
I'm sorry, I can't hear you
Yeah,
clearly.
Pam, you're very hard to hear.
I've got mine up to maximum again.
I think it's the microphone.
Yes,
Yeah, I have a headset now and supposedly it was working, but
Well, it's,
you sound muffled.
I think
what
maybe-
Pam was
all right,
saying
let me try
that-
this. Does this work better?
No, you have to pull that one out and just use the mic that's on the computer.
Yeah, that one wasn't working very well. This one
Oh.
was, but it doesn't, you can't hear me now?
Yes,
No.
but you sound muffled. Go ahead, try it again.
Let me try this. All right, I'll try to use the computer one. Is this working?
Yes,
Hello? Can you hear me at all?
yes, you had a comment to make.
Now my speaker's not working.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hello? Nope. Let me see what I can figure out. Meanwhile, let me talk, Mark's next door.
All right.
I think the comment that Pam was making was that I'm not on until later in the agenda. Do you have any idea what time I'll be on, Ellen? And I can jump back on or whatever.
That's all I was trying to tell.
You'll be gone. Just a moment, we'll take a look.
I could hear it, but the speaker wasn't working again,
So you couldn't hear it coming
even
out?
through there.
Okay, Alan?
Yes,
Yeah,
Really loud.
Pam's getting some IT assistance right now.
okay,
But one thing,
I could hear it, but the
one thing we
mic-
might do, Joe Whalen is on executive session later on in the meeting.
yes.
If he's available, maybe we can,
Text him or something?
Joe, will you be available a little later? We can call you.
Yeah, just call my cell, Mark, or text me, either way.
You got it, Mark, the text number?
Yeah,
439
let's see if,
Yep, 439.
1891.
All right, we'll text or call.
Okay, great. Thanks, guys.
okay,
Thank
it'll be
you,
later.
Joe.
We don't want you to wait there for,
No, that's
A
all
long
good.
time.
Thank you.
Yeah.
okay.
Thank you. Okay, so now we're on the second item. This is the board meeting of January 28th of this year. Entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Muffled, so.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Tom, seconded by Gina. Further discussion, questions? Hearing none, all those in favor, board, raise your hand, please. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Juan, raise your hand. You're muted, Juan. Yeah, got your hand. Gina, you're saying yes.
Yes.
Good. Unanimous. Thank you.
Can anybody hear me here?
Yes.
Yes.
No, can't hear you, Juan. Not yet. You're still muted.
No, that was Pam's account.
All right, there he is.
Yes, Randy, we can hear you.
Okay. Executive Director's Report, number 4.
Okay, I'll start. It's going to be almost a shared executive director's report for this meeting. The first item I'll like to discuss is water purchased. I provided the data and the graphs as usual. Not much has changed since the previous month. We made a little less than last year, but overall this year, the accumulated total still remains 6% higher than the prior year total.
I should be independent of that.
Hold on one second. Pam, can you mute yourself until you get squared away?
I just muted her.
Thank you. Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Any questions on water purchased?
No.
Okay. The dam removal project, we had some public meetings this past month. The first one was with the Waterview Condo Association, which was held on February 18th. And that meeting was held to provide some information specific to their location and some of the questions that the residents had in that area. Matt Belisle of PAR gave a very detailed presentation to the Condo Association and included renderings of proposed water levels, post-dam removal for them. The residents participated and able to ask questions and continue to express concerns, despite all the information, with concern with water levels, aesthetics, odors, and potential impacts to quality of life. A further public meeting then was held just the other night with the Warren Town Council, and some additional concerns came up at that meeting, which included some concerns with some potential downstream impacts, a question on fire protection, and a question on potential of contamination of any private wells. So we'll continue to working with PAR Engineering and come up with answers on that project for the town council and for the residents in the area. Any other questions?
Let me ask
on
a
that
question
project?
about that. Could
Yes.
I ask a question about that? It appears to me that the people seem to be divided into 2 categories. One is they want things to always remain the same and just don't like the idea of change. And then the second is a concern about the level of water and flooding and so forth. What can you sort that out? Do you think that their concerns are valid, or is it just a fear of the unknown?
I think a lot of it has to do with fear of the unknown. I mean, I think the presentations have been very detailed. Matt Belisle, I think, does an excellent job. And we put a lot of effort and science into this and presenting everything that they can. But again, I think it's, the fact that, the reservoir has been there for 100 years and people are accustomed to seeing the reservoir. And I think it really is fear of the unknown.
And that's my impression. And I don't personally think we do a very good job on our website of making our case, given that this has been endorsed by Save the Bay and so forth. So I really feel the need to bring in some professional PR help, both for this issue and for the compelling reason to connect to Pawtucket. So that's just a placeholder.
I know Pam had provided some additional information to put on the website on that, but we can definitely look more into that. Gina.
Hi, Mr. Keough. This is Robert Mitella with the Keough Community Association. And if you'd like, I can provide a commentary for Mrs. McDonald.
Sure.
That would be great.
Okay. So from a community perspective, it's not that the camps are divided into 2. From a geospatial perspective, there are different risk tolerances based on the proximity to the risks that they are presented with. So there is one group which is south of the Child Street Dam who are more concerned with one aspect of pollution and contamination and sediments filter into the Mount Hope Bay, which will be impacting shellfishing, etc. The other
Well, let me just stop you there, because this is a move that Save the Bay has endorsed.
Yeah,
So
Yeah, that's understood, Mrs. McDonald, but please
Excuse me.
understand that
Excuse me,
Save the Bay is a specific special interest group.
excuse me. This is Joe Keough. I'm gonna suspend any discussion on this issue because we've received a letter from an attorney representing Mr. Mitella. I haven't had a chance to go through it yet, but this is clearly an issue that is going to have to be discussed in future meetings in executive session because there are threats of litigation. And so we're going to have to end this conversation regarding this. And I've already contacted Mr. Patello's attorney. I hope to speak to him tomorrow. I'm going to talk with Steve next week. So we'll have some more information for the board at the next meeting. But unfortunately, because we've received that letter, I've got to step in and put an end to this conversation.
Thank you, Joe.
Okay.
Okay,
Thanks.
Thank you very much, and I appreciate it and look forward to working with you all.
Steve, please
Yes,
continue.
sir. Next item, we commenced negotiations with the union, but we really just had an initial kickoff meeting with them, laid out kind of ground rules on negotiation, and Joe will talk a little bit more about that in executive session. We received the proposals for bond counsel, as you know, and financial advisor. A meter replacement program we haven't done too much because of the weather and COVID. However, as the weather permits, we have continued to replace meters in the pits. The agricultural land lease, we received those proposals just the other day, and as an item for further discussion on the agenda. And also we'll be looking at updating the strategic plan for the coming year. For operations, we've had 2 recent leaks on Metacom 12-inch water main. Fortunately, the crews have done an excellent job. We've been utilizing a new clamp system where we can make repairs without shutting down this important transmission main that runs through Bristol. As noticed, it's based on a similar concept that was used for the repair on the 30-inch pipeline. So good job by staff on making those repairs. We have engineering reports provided by Sue Rabideau, MIS report by Randy Manchester, and operations report by Mike Crawford. And if anyone has any questions on any of these reports or any other items, please let me know.
Anyone have questions?
I just want to make one comment about science fair. The participation by students was much reduced this year due to COVID. A lot of schools did not participate in science fair. So we normally provide, I believe, a first and a second place award in both senior and junior division. We had no projects in the senior division related to drinking water. In fact, the schools in East Bay did not participate in science fair. So the high schools. So we did have some junior high projects, and we do have 2 projects in the junior high division from students in Bristol, Warren, Barrington that are about drinking water. So obviously, if we're giving out a first and a second, they're both going to be winners, but we can decide which is first and which is second. If there's anybody on the board that would like to help out, we can choose either to base our decision solely on the written materials, which we already have, or we can, the science fair, the state science fair is setting up Zoom meetings on March 13th, a Saturday from between 12 and 3. And we can ask to be assigned Zoom meetings with each of the students. So you can either jump up now or send me an email to let me know if you're interested. But again, it's not going to be that much of an effort because we're really just deciding between these 2 projects.
Sue, is it possible, given the fact that you've gone through this many times, if someone was to read the written material that you've received now, do you feel there would be any problem in determining which one was first, which one was second?
I haven't read these two specific projects, but I would say, yeah, it's possible. And last year, that's what we did. We just used the written materials to make our decision. We didn't do Zoom. We had them come on to the board meeting in
Yes.
May, but we did not interview them on Zoom last year. We just used their written materials.
Okay,
So-
so we could do that again then this year.
That certainly can be done again this year. It's probably the way we're leaning towards.
Fine, thank you. So anyone who wants to volunteer to join Sue on that venture, you can step forward separately outside of this meeting and you'll be able to give us the input for our annual meeting. That's when we need to do this.
Thank you.
Pam, you had some, excuse me, Steve, you had more to review with your report?
I don't have anything more to review. Mike, do you have anything to add?
Actually, I could add to my part that we met with the town recently, and they mentioned that they are going to go ahead with some road restoration in Mount Hope Avenue. If you had remembered, we had asked the board had approved additional funds to do cleaning and lining of the water main on Mount Hope Avenue and add it to the contract with our contractor from last year. Things did not work out with the contractor, and also the town didn't think we weren't sure that they were actually going to do the paving. But now the town has said they definitely are moving the paving up. So we really want to get in there and complete that work. So we have gone back to the contractor and he has agreed to do the work first thing in the spring. So we are going to go ahead with that. The board, I don't believe, needs to do anything. We had already requested and you approved the funds for that work. So we're just going to do it first thing in the spring instead of last year.
Fair enough. Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Pam, do you have anything to add to the your last addition to add to this?
Up my volume here. No, actually, this is my last and final report. And just want to mention that Steve and I did go through it together. And he's making a great transition into executive director. And so I can walk away feeling that the organization is in great hands. So thank you all.
Yes, very good. Applause. Okay, next item on our agenda is the financial report.
Hello, everybody. I'd like to start. Pam made a note that my position is in the paper, the local paper this week. And it happened to be on the obituary page. So I was hoping that wasn't a precursor to anything, so anybody looking for under the obituary section will find the ad for the job. So
I saw that.
That's very strange.
I saw the ad. I saw the ad.
So I think my friend Randy was working on to cut and paste with Photoshop my obituary directly above it with an arrow that says, "Please see below." So, okay. Everybody's got the January report. I'll be quick on it. We're continuing. There's been some fluctuations between November was down, December was up, and January down a little bit. But that is really all being caused by the accruals of unbilled that I do. And it's under the new way we're reading, the unbilled thing is very, the amount of unbilled is very critical based on number of days. And when we used to spread it out more evenly over the month, it was basically, half the month was unbilled. but it's heavily more towards the end of the month, the billing. And so the billing is a little less. So we're going to work for February to clean out the year to be, do a little more crunching the numbers to get a real number of what that unbilled number is. So, but the year to date, the unbilled reverses itself every month. So it's a fresh unbilled. So the year to date is extremely accurate. So the past 3 months are in a state of up and down, but the total for the year to date is spot on. Just overall gallons delivered up almost 7.5%, and billings up 15% for the year, which is good. I'd like to make one note. We did close on the new bond on January 28th, 0.975, which is as close to free money as you're going to find out there. I think Sandy Mack, everybody involved, Adam, our bond financial advisors did a great job. We played that day to day, and I think we fell right in the niche of the best time to catch the lowest rate we could have for that.
That was 5 years, right? 6.6 million.
The 6.6 million 5-year. We're going to get rid of that debt as fast as we can, and then as we go to for the Pawtucket pipeline, if we go to Infrastructure Bank and say in 2.5, 3 years that we can do interest only for the first 2, so this refunding loan will fall off the radar just as we're creating that new debt service for that new loan.
Good, thank you.
So that's the way we designed that to work, and I think it'll work fine. And if it doesn't, you can try to call me, but I don't know where I'll be. But one other point, we noted that the debt service ratio dropped a little bit. And the reason for that is when we did the refunding, the interest that would have been due on the TD Bank, the 2014 that we refunded, was scheduled to be paid after March 1st. So that debt service would have been in FY22. When we did the refunding, we had to pay the accrual on the day of the closing, which brought that interest back into FY21. So our debt service in FY21 went up by about $100,000 and caused that debt service ratio to dip just a tad. But 6.3 is still phenomenal.
That's stratosphere, because 1.25 is all that's required.
Absolutely.
So,
Absolutely. So we're in fine shape there, and the refunding, I think, worked out very well. I think for our long-term planning and tying into a rate less than 1%. So we'll be fine there. Does any other questions? Anybody?
Questions, anyone?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mark,
Tom, you have a question.
yes. The month-to-month variances that you noted earlier on, is that a permanent feature of the new setup, or is that teething pains?
The variance in a revenue that
Yes.
you're talking about?
Yes.
No. What happens when we switch to monthly billing, the unbilled basically will go away. But basically, on a quarterly basis, I'm required to estimate what the say if you're billed in December, okay, and it's February, and you're not going to be billed again till March. I have to take into account, say, 2 months worth of those December people, even though it hasn't been billed yet. They've got the water and they owe us the money. Okay, so that accrual, I have to basically go back and say, one of the months, say, owes us 2 months. The next month owes us 1 month, and the current month we read would be just, if you read everybody on the 15th, they would still owe a half of a month for the second half of the month. So we're fine tuning how we calculate that unbilled amount as we're doing our reads and billing are more consolidated now and not spread out, say 3 a week over the 4 weeks. It'd be a reading, say on the 10th or the 20th and towards the end of the month. So the average there might be, say on the 20th of the month, which is only 10 days of unbilled. And 10 days of unbilled on $1.5 million, that's a lot of money. So just being off a few days create an accrual difference, of quite a few dollars. So, but what happens, that accrual, just like I have to accrue payroll, there's a lot of things I accrue that if we paid in the month of January, but the pay, if they earned it in January, but we didn't pay it to February, I have to bring that back into January. So there's a series of accruals you have to run to be on the true accrual system. That everything that we either billed or every expense we had that came in the following month, I need to bring it back.
Let me see if there's another way of looking at this. We bill quarterly now, but that doesn't mean that we read everybody the first week in the quarter.
Right.
We are reading continually. And so if you get your bill the first week of the quarter, you don't get your next bill till the first week of the next quarter. If you're in the fifth week of the quarter, you get your bill the fifth week of each quarter. So there's continuous reading and continuous billing going on all the time. But it's done quarterly. But since Mark has to show for a quarter, he has to make all kinds of estimates. That's the way I look at this.
Right. So if your bill's on the 10th of the month and it's in March, literally there's 20 days still in March that you're unbilled. Right. So that's how that the auditors approved the method that we use. But as we switch to monthly billing, if we bill everybody on the 15th, then there'll be 15 days of unbilled for that month, basically. So it'd be very easy to calculate.
But we'll bill everybody in a day.
Yeah, I mean,
so that way we're going to change the whole system of collecting data, which will be a lot quicker.
Right. So
anyway, any questions for Mark? Hearing none, thank you, sir. Let's go on to the rate study. Excuse me. The rate study, number 6, New Gen Strategies.
The Mike Maker of New Gen Strategies here.
Yes, I see him.
Okay.
Mike, good
Can
afternoon.
you share your screen?
Yes, good afternoon. Let me go ahead and share. I think you have to allow me to share.
Yeah. Able to come up, get that, Mike?
I think that's your screen. It says host disabled participant screen sharing. So I think it must be a setting to allow others.
Yeah, the host has to permit it.
Yep.
Yes, Steve, go into security. There's an icon for security.
Yep.
I think if you click on Mike Maker, you can also make him a host. If you click on his picture, right?
It's just easier to just go to security and allow participants to share.
I did click that on.
Okay. Let's see. Can everyone see that?
There we go.
Okay, good. So I just have a brief presentation. I know from the last meeting, you adopted a 3.5% revenue increase. And so this presentation reflects that with 3 alternatives that all bring in that 3.5% revenue. So I'm going to talk about the current charges and rates. That's your current design. Current and alternative rate designs, projected charges and rates over the next 5 years, sample bills with those charges and rates, and then recommendations. So this should look familiar by now. We've seen it a couple times now. This is your current charges and rates. You can see you have a service charge that varies by meter size. And right now you have monthly and quarterly customers. Quarterly customers simply pay 3 times monthly. And then you also have that senior citizen discount, which you're going to have all those customers are going to be 5 8-inch customers. And most of your residential are going to be 5 8-inch customers. So most would pay that lowest charge. You'll see the note at the bottom there that senior citizens, those that are 65 years or older, receive a discount of $5.35 per month.
Gotcha.
And then you have 5 tiered rates. So that's regardless of the fixed charge. You then pay the metered rates per 100 cubic feet. And depending on how much usage you have, you pay a tiered rate. So if you use from 0 to 500 cubic feet per month, you pay the 406 per 100 cubic feet. And then you can see as you use more, you end up paying different rates. You can see the rate goes up in tier 2, drops down slightly in tier 3, drops down again in tier 4, back to the tier 1 rate, and then goes up slightly again for tier 5. And I think that rate design has evolved over time. Different rates were put in for different reasons based on different large customers that were in the service area. So we looked at some alternative rate designs. That first one there is just the current rate design I just talked about. The service charges, monthly and quarterly, vary by meter size, the senior citizen service charge discount, and then the 5 tiered metered rates. For alternative rate design 1, we've just assumed you're going all monthly, so there'll be no more quarterly charges. Everybody be billed monthly. It would still vary by meter size. And then we put here AWWA base, and that just means American Water Works Association. They have set equivalents for how much more a higher meter should pay. And the ones you use now are almost exactly the same. So there's really not much of a change by it just tweaks a couple of them to correct them. And then that service charge discount for senior citizen, we're just bringing it from $5.35 to $5. So we're simply right sizing it, dropping it 30 cents, 35 cents. And then keeping the 5 tiered meter rates per 100 cubic feet. Alternative rate design 2 is again the same as alternative rate design 1, but the only thing we did here is we have 4 tiers instead of 5 tiers. So essentially what we're doing is we're dropping tier 4, the current tier 4, which is that rate that drops back down to tier 1. And so we go straight into the tier 5 rate, which starts at 10,000 cubic feet. And you'll notice the note at the bottom for all of these rate designs, regardless of which one you end up going with, they all bring in that 3.5% revenue that you adopted last time. So this is the current rate design. If you simply kept the current rate design and increased it 3.5% each year, these are what the rates would be. Again, here you have the monthly and quarterly charges, the senior citizen discounts, and then the 5 tier metered rates. If you went to alternative 1, that looks like this. So now we no longer have the quarterly charges, just have the monthly charges, and the same 5 tiered rates as the current design. So not too much of a change here either. But now the senior citizen charge is a $5 discount as opposed to $5.35. So the senior citizen bills end up going, slightly higher for this, about 35 cents higher per month. And then alternative rate design 2, again, just going all monthly, so no longer quarterly charges. And here you see we dropped the tier 4 current rate. So now your tier 4 is really where tier 5 started before. So it starts at over 10,000 in tier 4. So essentially what you're doing is you're capturing more usage at that higher rate. So what that allows you to do is actually lower some of the other rates by a few pennies because you have, as I mentioned, you're capturing more usage at the higher rate. So we always say customers don't really care what the rates are. They want to know what their bills are. So here's a comparison of some typical customer bills. We have a small user, a median user, an average user, and then a large user. You can see the monthly usage. That's actually a breakdown from quarterly. So a small user uses about 700 cubic feet per quarter, which breaks down to 233 per month. The median uses about 1,200 cubic feet per quarter, and a large uses about 1,900. You can see the bills right now. if they use these amounts, what they pay now. So for example, a small user currently pays $40.55. If you were to stay with the current rate design, they would go to $41.97. And if you went to the alternative one, it would go to $41.91, so roughly 6 cents less. And if you went to the alternative design 2, it'd be $41.82, so what, 15 cents less. And then you can see the senior citizen bills as well. And I believe I also provided a PDF of your top users. I think it was the top 10 or so. So you can see the impact with that PDF that I provided. So the recommendations, so we'd suggest just maintain the current rate design and adopt associated charges and rates for the next 5 years. And then we would recommend you do, review your rates and charges on an annual basis and revise as needed. And then consider a full cost of service study, every 3 to 4, 5 years. You don't need to do something like this every year. You really just want to look at your expenses, compare those with actuals and budgeted, and then see if your revenues are falling in line.
How do our rates compare to others in the state of Rhode Island?
So Pam can probably, we did look at, I think you're on the higher end. Pam could probably provide some context. I think we talked about this last time. But again, it's an apples and oranges because everybody's different. Their treatment, their service area, their density. But I know boards do like to know that. How do we compare to the neighbors? I think when I check, I think you're higher than others, but take that with a grain of salt. Pam, you have anything to add to that?
We're probably comparable to Newport, as they had to rebuild a water treatment plant and built a new one about 5-6 years ago. So they did significantly raise their rates. Our rates, of course, we had to build the cross-bay pipeline and buy the system, and those who recently dropped off as far as bonds go, but then we've been continuing to renovate the system, and we've been saving funds to do the Pawtucket pipeline. So we tend to be on the higher side for Rhode Island, but our water usage is also on the lower side. So if we were to compare apples to apples, we would be pretty close to the middle. But because our usage is fairly low, that gets distributed among all of our customers, and so the rates end up being a bit higher.
I may add too, rates are really capital driven. So if a utility is putting money back into the system, you're going to have, which we are doing, you're going to have a higher rate.
Any other questions, comments? So you're saying, Mike, you're saying stay where we are.
I would say that until you've gone to all monthly billing, you may want to move to alternative rate design 1, which is a subtle change, but your current rate design is the only one that right now has the quarterly and monthly billing. Once you go to all monthly, we would recommend probably just, slightly lowering that senior charge and matching your equivalents to American Water Works Association. So just 2 small changes, but yeah.
But alternative 2, you reduce the number of tiers, I presume, because there are not many people, no reason to have that anymore. I mean,
yeah, and the thing about 2 is if you look at that PDF where it shows the top customers, these are your largest users, they're affected a bit differently. Anytime you change a rate design, some customers are going to see their bills increase more than others and some less than others. So some of those top customers, their bills are going up 10% as opposed to 3.5%, like some of these other rate designs. So we figured that was just a bit too much at one time. Eventually, if you did want to do a rate change, you'd have to bite the bullet in 1 year, and some customers are going to see different changes. But I think after discussion with staff, we agreed for now, let's keep the status quo.
Stay where we are.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't see the PDF that you sent, okay, but that's okay. Juan, you have a question?
Is the PDF that you're referring to actually looks like an Excel spreadsheet and has probably 10 account numbers, and then there's a residential section and a senior section as well?
Yes. Yep.
Okay. I think that's a good analysis, but I only think it's the tip of the iceberg, because one of the things that you mentioned early on is that in the residential, that's where most of the users are. And so that when you see these outliers with a large increase, They could be a very small number of customers who are in that area. So it's a very small impact overall on the entire population of the district. And so it's hard to tell that. And that's one of the concerns I had and expressed last time was that, and you mentioned it again, is that you go from tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3. You go from tier 1 to tier 2, the rate that's charged goes up considerably, which is good. It's a progressive billing system. You're trying to discourage water use. But then tier 3 drops down, then tier 4 drops again, and then in tier 5 it goes back up, which is odd to say the least. And it's been mentioned that this was done for users that used a lot of water in the past. What this analysis doesn't show us here at all is, well, what is the current usage makeup of customers that we have, and how many people are being affected by these bills? And should we be implementing a more progressive rate structure, which rewards those who use less and gives an incentive to those who use more? And you can't tell in this analysis as to what you got. This and I thought that was what was called for in the scope of service.
Lon, I think your papers are hitting the microphone there.
Yeah, I think I got most of it. So this was several iterations of rate analysis that we looked at with staff and management, and we did have a bit more progressive ones at first. But again, as I mentioned, you really have to look at the impacts to customers, because we wanted this more to be evolutionary rather than revolutionary. And so, anytime you change the design, that's going to have an effect on different customers. So some of the things you're talking about, if we try to go from 1 year to change from your current rate design to something more conservation based, where every single tier is more penalizing, you may see customers with their bills doubling and things like that. So you got to be careful in how you do that.
I understand that, but we don't have enough. You're bringing it to the board now, and you're asking us to make a decision. And from my viewpoint, I don't have enough information to make a decision.
I'd like to clear, we're not taking any votes or anything. This is strictly for information only at this point in time.
Yes, that's my understanding.
Well, what I would still like to see some more information on cost of service. What type of customers are actually incurring the costs that the water authority incurs in their everyday operations, and I think that's necessary. It's been how many years has it been since the cost of service has been done? That was back in the bacon and egg days, which I know is a bad word to say, but that was a while ago.
No, we did do one about 5 years ago with this new gen was called a different firm, but we did do one back then as well. Essentially, I don't know what more information you'd be looking for. This is the summary of all the details that were run on the various customer classes and various sizes. How much more detail would you like to see?
I'd like to know why the tiers have to be the way they are. There are a number of water authorities in the state that have one usage charge. They don't break it into different tiers at all. Why shouldn't we do something like that?
Well, we did run some of those, but you're going to have significant impacts on various classes of customers and large classes of customers.
I don't know what that impact is. I don't have any information.
We did have that for the last meeting. Mike, would you have that available?
Yeah, the last presentation showed that. Hold on.
But shouldn't it all be in one place?
You can only show so many alternatives on one screen. I mean, you want it to be viewable. So the last time, hold on, I'll find it.
I realize there's no such thing as a perfect design. There's compromise all the time.
So we looked at, for an alternative before, was a single metered rate as opposed to the 5-tier. And let's see. And that really hurt your residential customers. So the one you were talking about, 5/8 inch, the majority of your customers, they were feeling the brunt of that, because essentially what you're doing is you're consolidating the rates, you're averaging out the rates, so your low rates and your high rates are kind of averaging. So now you no longer have customers at the higher tiers, and you're requiring your small customers to pay those larger rates. So by having the higher tiers, you're actually helping your smaller customers.
So I assume that you did a test run of this on our actual customer base to see if it generates enough revenue.
Yep.
It's supposed to be revenue neutral.
Correct.
Yeah, all three designs bring in the same amount of revenue. And so the rates automatically calculate based on how much revenue you say you need. That's how the rates are adjusted. So that's why in this case, the one design was actually able to lower the rate slightly, and a few cents. But
is it possible to get a distribution between the different categories of users for revenue generation? You know, does the small user generate 50%, the median, or whatever you have here for different classes?
yeah, I'm sure I could put something together in terms of user groups.
Mr. Chairman, if no action is required tonight, I'm not going to ask any more questions.
Let me ask Steve, what is the situation here? And Mark, do we need to, if we don't take any action, which is the recommendation that Mike has made, then things are going to stay the same as you make the next round of billings, correct?
Right. One of the reasons I think we talked about of staying the same is before we make any change, I mean, Mike ran it through his system, but any change we make, we can have the ability to run through our actual billing system for revenue equality, neutrality. And I think we'd want to do that ourselves. Also, any change at all, when we disclose, say, a 3.5% rate increase, we would have to come up with some type of transparency disclosure that it's not going to be 3.5 for everybody. It could be 2%, it could be 10%, as Mike Maker mentioned. That the disclosure end of that is a lot of work to try to do that. And I think until we get to the decision to turn to monthly billing, the change in the average bill was, you're talking 10 cents, 5 cents. It didn't seem like worth that extra effort across the board to try to do that. And
let me just stop you there, Mark. I would agree with you, but my question is, at what point do we plan to move to monthly billing? Because I think we're already well behind the original timeline that we had set.
Right, the change to monthly billing, I think is penciled in sometime in the July to September timeframe. There are a lot of things we're waiting for. We still have a lot of meters to try to get in. I don't know if Mike Crawford, are you on? Could you go over that?
Well, yeah, there are some software upgrades we have to make, and that is something that we're in the planning stages of deploying, as Neptune has stopped supporting the current software application that we're running. So that, along with the implementation of the gateways through the new software platform that we just recently installed, is something we need to get off the ground.
So that's the ability to be able to read all the meters at one time.
Correct. And then we want to maximize that as we finish up these, maximize the utility of that system as we finish the meter replacements that were delayed because of COVID and its impacts as far as getting close to people and getting in their homes.
Understand. So it sounds like the best thing to do is just stick where we are right now. And when we get to the monthly billing, then we'll be able to talk about making a change or evaluating to see what the actual impact is on classes of our customers of any changes.
We have the ability internally to analyze through our software and system, as we switch to monthly, the impact that's going to be. Because we really don't want to have, the large users, whether it's the college or nursing homes, you can see the problem you're going to have by them, getting the soldiers' home and all these people that use a lot of water. It's not that they're, it's that they could significantly get a larger increase than, say, if we do 3%, theirs could be 10 based on the change of the tiers. So we got to be very careful and make sure we know exactly the impact on each group.
Understand. And I think for those who may be newer to this, originally some of these special arrangements for water were made for the industries that were very water dependent that we had in Bristol County.
Alan, it's Tom Craig. I have a question actually for Mark, and that is, you've indicated that a 3.5% increase does not represent a 3.5% increase for each of the tiers. Could you explain that, or is it that, just explain that?
Well, if we instituted a 3.5% rate increase, which is very easy to calculate based on the rates that are published. But as we change the tier system, where they're going to be charged more than they would normally be charged for some of the large end, their bill could go up 10%, even though it's
okay. So the rate they get will all be at a 3.5%, but the impact on their bill will vary according to the rate structure.
Right, because some of the charges for that tier are going to go up 3.5%. But say they're going to be, they might only have 50% one tier. Now they're going to have 70% in that tier, which is 10% higher than the tier before. So,
yeah, Tom, there's a difference between the revenue and the rate is what's really happening. So all of them are collecting 3.5% of revenue. So your revenue will go up 3.5%, which is what you voted on last time. But depending on the rate design, the actual rates could change, and then therefore the actual bill impacts could change.
Right. Thank you. I understand now.
Yeah.
We need to stay where we are for the while. So it appears to me that there is no reason, since we've got a recommendation from Mike to stay where we are until we get to monthly billing. And Mark is saying that we want to be able, once we get to monthly billing, use our equipment, our computers, and run this through to satisfy ourselves what damage we're doing or what increases actually will be made to any of the individual accounts. Then we want to stay where we are. Is that the consensus that we got? Everybody understands that?
Yes.
And let's move on.
I have a question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure, go to it.
I personally would like to see, we did agree to a 3.5% increase.
Yes.
I would like to see something on the website or something published that says, here's what your rate is today in the quarterly basis. And I think it's in here. And here's what it is after 3.5% for each of those categories.
Yeah.
And we need to show it to people that, people are saying you raised it 3.5%. Well, how much is it really? That's what we need to show the people. If you're in this tier, the small user, it's X dollars a month or a quarter. And we need to publish that and put it someplace.
Steve can do that, I think, quickly.
On the website. There should be a place to be able to post that.
Yeah, we
will do that.
I can answer that. We do have the rates published on the website. You can't say your bill will go from $40 to $50 because some low end people, their bills are $30 and some are $60. So we usually say the average user is affected, bill will go up $1.50 or something like that. That's how we do it. You can't really tell anybody their bill is depends what they use. There's senior people that their bill is $40 a quarter, and there are people that are $80 a quarter.
But there is a base rate for each of the 5 tiers.
Yes.
In that 5 tiers, you should add 3.5% to it and say, this is what it was, this is what it's going to be. Now, if you use X amount of water, this is how much your bill will be. Add that to it on each tier.
We can add,
don't show that anywhere.
We can add something just like on what's on the screen here before.
What's on the screen is actually, Joe's on the line. We do post the other rate with the new rates, and the information is also on everybody's bill of what the increase is, the base rate.
Are we
We
finished?
can take a look. We can take a look at that. That'd be fine.
Are we finished with the screen share? I'd like to get back where everybody can see everyone. Let's get everybody together again. Where is everyone now?
We are here.
Okay.
I haven't gone anywhere.
All right. But I guess I got to get myself back so I can see everybody.
You're here twice, Alan.
I see you twice, Alan.
Well, don't want to do that.
Yep.
When are we going to meet back in the office?
Something happened. I want to get back to the place where we're all together.
That's a setting on your computer. It's gallery view.
Yeah, I'm trying to find out where I can get that.
The upper right.
Yeah, I know that, but what I'm getting in my upper right is the whole screen or not.
Remember, Alan, even though we see 2 of you, you only get 1 vote.
The reason I have 2 is I'm trying to get 2 votes here. All right, let's move forward, even with 2 people. We want the report on the East Providence Town Council workshop on the Pawtucket Pipeline. For those of you who watched that, or Pam, John, anyone want to give a report, their feelings about this? We're going to talk about some of these things later on in executive session, but overall, I thought it was a positive meeting. Other people may wish to comment. Go to it.
Alan, my reaction was listening to them that they're about 3 years behind where we are in understanding the process. And I'm concerned that it's going to take their members a long time to catch up.
Interesting.
I can agree with that assessment.
I had a different feeling from that.
Can we discuss this in executive session?
Sure, we can.
Very good.
Then let's move forward. We have the board member town council reports. Item number 8. Any input from various members?
Lost your doppelganger, Alan. I think we're all here now once.
Well, I'm not in there.
Can you see us?
No, not now. I'm going to ask Bill to take over the meeting while I try to get back online, okay?
You're here. We see you.
Yep.
You see me.
Yeah, we see you.
Yeah, it's just a setting on your Zoom thing.
I'm out of it now.
No,
Am I still
No,
there?
we see you and we hear you.
And I'm still there. I don't even show anything on my screen that says I'm at the meeting. Bill, take over, please, while I try to get back in.
Okay.
I can't see anybody.
Item number 9, award of agricultural land lease RFP.
Okay, we, once again, did the agricultural land lease with, we sent it out and we did receive the same 2 proposals as last year. And Steve and I did review those proposals. And we are recommending that the proposal be awarded to Mr. Fryrich once again. He did offer the higher annual payment in an amount of $4,500 per year compared to $4,400 last year. But Fryrich has been haying our fields over the last 20 years. He's done an excellent job. He has quite a few recommendations to support his efforts in various areas of the town and the surrounding community. And therefore, we're pleased to recommend that the proposal be awarded for an agricultural land lease to David Fryrich of Fryrich Farms and Greenhouses, an amount to be paid to the BCWA of $375 per month for the term of March 1st, 2001 through February 28th, 2022.
What was the amount for the second one?
And the second one was, oops, I don't have that one in front of me. It was considerably lower.
The reason why I ask is we don't have any documentation in front of us.
Yep.
We just received the proposals yesterday to be able to get them in for the March 1st start date. But
That's your $375 a month. Total's $4,500.
Correct.
Bill or Alan, a question for Joe. And is this now going to be a straightforward written lease? I recall there was some ambiguity in the past as to what our relationship was with him.
Yes, we did do an official lease last year, and we'll be doing the same one again this year.
Thank you, Pam.
Chairman, I move the motion, the recommendation of the executive director.
second,
Any further discussion? Okay, we need to see a raise of hands.
We have a formal motion.
Well, yes, we do, and we have a second.
Okay.
Okay. Everybody raise their hand. Gina?
Yes.
Okay.
You see my hand going up?
Yes, I do.
Oh, okay.
It appears to be unanimous here. I don't see any nays or, okay. Alan, are you back in or can you see us?
No, I can't see anything.
Okay.
Hold on.
I raised my hand up.
Okay. All right. Item number 10. Recommendation, there's 2 recommendations here. Recommendation for award of bond council RFP. Any discussion? Finance
Yeah,
committee?
I'd like to propose Sandra Mack be selected as our bond counsel, consistent with our RFP.
Second that.
John, second. Georgina, any additional or further discussion? George, you raise your hand or?
No, I just in agreement.
Okay. All right. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Again, it appears to be unanimous. And item number 2 under that, recommendation for award of financial advisor, RFP.
I recommend to the board that Hilltop Securities be given the work for financial advising.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Any discussion at all? All those in favor, please raise your hand.
Aye.
Okay. And again, it appears to be unanimous. Item 11, award of maintenance of SCADA and telemetering systems bid. Is this from Mike or Steve or Pam?
Yes, we went out for RFP and we received one bid. And it's the company that's been providing us service for the past several years. And they provided a bid service fee of $125 an hour, which is actually less than what they've been charging over the last year. So recommend that we award to Harbor Controls. And they've been providing good service to us in this for SCADA.
I make a motion, we approve the recommended contract to Harbor Controls.
Second.
Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand or your voice on the phone.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, appears to be unanimous. Item 12, award of task order engineering services for evaluation of the maintenance garage facilities. Again, does this come from Stephen or Mike or Pam?
Any one of us can respond. Steve, why don't you take them?
Okay, so we asked PART to provide us a task order to start looking at the site across the street from the office, looking at the maintenance garage, the extent of what type of site restoration we would need, investigating a new building or potential renovations of the existing building. And for that effort, we are recommending that PAR be giving this service fee of $17,000.
Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
Bill, I have a question. It wasn't clear to me. Is this to replace the existing or is it to enlarge?
Well, we're going to be looking at the existing and looking at potential for an additional, because the garage is really too small for our needs. But at this point, it's planning level efforts to see how much this would actually cost us if we're actually going to move forward with an actual new building or renovations to the existing building.
Thank you.
Motion, we approve the 17,000 to pair.
Second.
Okay, motion by Bob and seconded by Juan. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please raise your hand or give your aye vote via telephone.
Aye.
Okay, appears unanimous. Item number 13, task order, surveying services for water main project. Again, Stephen or Mike?
Yeah, again, it's a small task order request. We have a small water main project to loop a small area in Bristol and need some surveying services. And we are recommending an award to Garofalo and Associates to do this survey work in the amount of $5,240.
Okay. Anyone care to make a motion?
Make a motion to be approved.
Okay, Bob. Second by Juan. All those in favor signify by raising your hand or voicing your Yes.
Aye.
Very good. Okay, appears unanimous. Number 14, Keough Lower Dam Study Task Order Addendum Number 1.
And this is a task order for Par Engineering. As you know, they've been doing all of the work on the dam removal project, all the studies and the analyses. And they've done additional work, given some of the comments that we've received from the general public. And with all that additional work, they going to be needing an additional $20,000 for additional engineering services for this effort.
A question, will this also respond to questions raised at the Warren Town Council meeting last night?
I believe it is for additional questions, yes.
Does any of this have an issue with regard to what we may be discussing in closed session?
No.
Okay.
No.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments?
Motion to be approved.
Okay, Bob, 1 second. All those in favor, raise your hand or signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Motion approved unanimously. Item number 15, Keough Dam Removal Information on website. Anybody want to take a stab at this, Pam?
Gina had requested, as she did earlier, that we have an item on the agenda. She's concerned, and rightly so, that we have sufficient information on our website concerning the dam removal process. We did recently, after the last few meetings, put up some additional information, and we did, Wendy and I did write a fact sheet. But Georgina is suggesting that we work out something a little more for the public notice, as far as doing that with the RDW group and have it a little more professionally done, which certainly is something Steve can work on in the future. He has been working with RDW group on some Pawtucket pipeline information to be put in the newspapers and also to be distributed to our customers and to East Providence as well. So he's in a working relationship with our people we work with RDW. So certainly doing more with the dam information is going to be relatively easy to work on.
Okay.
So I've read what's on the website, and if I knew nothing else about what was going on, I would not find it compelling. For instance, there's no mention on the website about the reservoir being contaminated by the septic systems that flow into it. There's no information about the cost to replace the treatment plant. And, you know, we keep fighting this fight over and over again with people who are sniping at us in the newspaper. And I think a lot of it is our own fault by not coming up with a totally comprehensive, factual, succinct, professionally put together presentation, both on this issue and the Pawtucket pipeline issue. I don't know if I'm a lone voice in the wilderness.
This is Joe Keough. Do we have a PR company that we have on staff? Not on staff, but
yes.
Yeah, we work with, yes.
Yes, we're working with RDW group.
I think that's a good idea. I think Steve and I are going to talk next week, and we may have to loop them in, Gina. So
okay, yeah, I'm happy to be helpful in any way I can, but I think this is a high priority item. We don't hesitate to spend on legal services, on bond counsel, on engineers, and I think we're cheaping out on something that's very important.
Well, I think it might come into play with some other things that we'll discuss, and I can I think I can talk to the board a little bit more about it once I've got my arms around it, and probably at the next meeting, we can sort of present you with a plan.
Great.
Sounds like a plan, Joe. Thank you.
I just want to say I agree with Gina. The more information we get out there, the better. But I just want to remind everybody, there are certain people out there that are going to snipe at us no matter what we put out.
No matter what.
You're right, John, but I do think that this,
Oh, yeah, definitely.
for a number of reasons, probably
Definitely.
a good idea to have a little PR advice and help on that.
Mr. Chairman, I would recommend that we make a motion that this be carried as an action item for the board or for Joe or however we want to do it, so we can keep track of this and have some end date to it. Because it certainly needs to get splashed out into the world shortly. We can't wait a long time.
Second.
This will happen quickly, I think. No question about that. But you're about to, if things go the way they potentially will go, there'll be plenty of information on a continuing basis to go out to the public.
We need to follow it as an action for the board.
Bob,
it's on our.
Well, my suggestion is the minutes include action items with follow-up requested and the date that it's due. And that way it's easy for us to keep track of.
Well, I'll tell you that this is absolutely going to be on next month's agenda. And so you can have it as an action item, but this will definitely be on next month's agenda.
Okay. Very good. Chris, did you?
If you say that,
Yeah,
Joe, that's good
I
enough for me.
seconded Bob's motion.
Yeah.
So go take
Okay.
care of it.
Whether you like it or not, Gina, it's going to be on next month's agenda.
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, Bob made a motion. It was seconded by Chris. Any other comments?
Yeah, I don't think it's necessary.
Okay. All those in favor, raise your hand or vote by voice on the phone. Okay. All righty. Alan, I don't see a hand up.
I'm not voting for.
Oh, okay.
I don't think it's necessary.
All right. One nay.
2 nays.
2 nays.
Same
Okay.
reason.
So we have. Okay. Item number 16 under the Personnel Committee, recommended salary increase for non-bargaining unit employees.
The Personnel Committee met earlier today. And as you remember last fall, the board itself had approved a figure of $26,000 for this purpose. But after meeting today with Pam and Steve, they tell us that they can get by with $20,000. So Personnel Committee is moving that we approve $20,000 for the salary increases for non-bargaining.
I'll second that.
Anybody with comments or questions? All those in favor signify raising your hand or voicing loudly on the telephone. Okay.
Aye.
All right, that passes unanimously. Number 17, for information only, quarterly write-offs. Joe, any information you want to share with us?
Yes, I would. I believe that we've begun to see the effect of COVID on our write-offs. Typically for this time of year, we wouldn't see an amount of that size. And I think that is going to continue into the next fiscal year.
Was this across the board for all 3 towns or is it still?
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Okay. All righty. Okay. Well, this show net write-off amount of 0.44%. Is that the lowest rate it's been, that number, 0.44 or no?
It fluctuates depending on the number of recoveries we have.
Okay.
Last year we had a very good year with recoveries. However, that's the unknown that we're dealing with. We don't know what our recoveries will be.
Okay.
But I do see a trend in the amount of write-offs increasing. So I think you're going to see that net recoveries will continue to increase as well.
Very good. Okay, number 18, one we've all been waiting for.
I have a question.
Comments on retirement of the executive director.
I'm sorry, I have a question on the last report.
And the write-offs, okay.
Joe, could you tell me what the meaning is of residential tenant versus residential owner?
Well, if it's owner occupied, it's residential owner. If a tenant occupies the apartment or the dwelling, it's a residential tenant account.
Okay. And in our system, the tenant is responsible for making payment of the water bills.
That is correct.
Okay.
Well, we have arrangements. We have arrangements with the owners so that if they don't pay, if the owner agrees to it, then we don't go in and shut off the water. So we don't have water shut off, water turn on charges, right? We got that with most of the owners have agreed to that.
Some of the owners have agreed to that, yes.
It saves them money.
Yes.
Okay, but the owners will then step in and pay for it? Pay the bill?
No. No.
Oh. Why would we do that then? Okay.
It saves the owners the need to turn the water service on and off, and there's a fee for that. So there's an automatic conversion to an owner-based account when a tenant leaves for that period of time that the dwelling is vacant.
Right.
And a lot of times the owners will use that 2 or 3 weeks period of time to clean up the facility, to clean up the apartment, and they need water service for that.
As a landlord myself, I'm responsible in the cities and towns that my property's in to make those payments, not my tenants. And I'd be curious to know what other cities and towns have the same kind of arrangements we have.
We actually had a major go-round about this about 3 years ago, and we capitulated.
Yes.
Yeah.
There was an enormous outcry from several of the major landlords in town, and we just backed off.
Juan, I think you can get the details. If you come into the office, you can get the details from Joe. He'll give you the background on this.
I'd be happy to talk to you about it anytime.
I probably know some of the answers, but I want to make sure everybody understands the answers. Do you know what the percentage breakdown between the 3 towns are, a number of customers? I'm just wondering if because you show the 26%, 56%, 17% in the customer classes, or distributed amongst the 3 towns for the amount of shut-offs, written offs. And I'm just wondering if that's out of line with the normal distribution of customers.
It's probably not out of line. As of January, I don't have the percentage, but in the town of Bristol, 7,500 of our accounts were located in Bristol. In Barrington, it was 6,100. And in Warren, it was about 3,600. So I think you're going to see that the higher write-offs are coming from Bristol, only because that's where the greatest amount of population is. And that's also the greatest area where we have tenant-occupied apartments.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Back to item 18. Who would like to make the first comment? And why? Is there anything she hasn't heard from us that she needs to hear tonight?
I know she doesn't want to hear any more from me.
Or from the political standpoint.
Well, I'll just say again, Pam, it's been a great pleasure to work with you.
It has.
I wish you again the very, very best.
As I told Pam earlier today, she came along at the right time when we really needed.
Exactly.
You know,
she
no
was
matter
more
what
than
we
a
said and what we,
Band-Aid.
yeah, you're right. So.
And
Best wishes and good luck with New Hampshire.
you very much. No, I had a great send-off yesterday, and most of you did participate. So again, I want to thank you so much. It's been an adventure, that's for sure.
It truly has.
Had a quite a time here. Most of it's been fun. We had a great group of people to work with. The board has been fantastic. You've been very supportive. Not always easy, you know, we do ask a lot of questions, which we do expect, and but has really supported us 100% in everything that we tried to do. So, we have a great team, a management team here. It's been phenomenal. As we've said before, we all wear single hats, but we all have to work together to get things done. And the staff is just fantastic as well. It's just, we've got a very well qualified, very excellent staff that really likes to pitch in and get things done. There's no one here that I know of that really just sits back and waits for somebody else to do things. We've got people that are really enthusiastic about our system and about the way we do things. And I think things are going to go extremely well in the future. Not to say things will come up as with the dam issues, but there'll be all things we can work out because we have an excellent group of people to do that. So I want to thank you all again. And yes, I'm really looking forward to New Hampshire. It's going to be my permanent vacation. So
Great, great.
Pam, I just want to say here before the board, I just want to thank you for this transition period. You've been very welcoming and helpful, you know, as I transition into this new role here. But you, like you said, there's a great team in place here, and you've fostered a tremendous culture of teamwork. So it's, you know, I'm looking forward to, you know, my future here, but I really wish you all the best in your retirement. You deserve it. You've left a legacy here in Rhode Island in the waterworks industry. You really have.
And thanks much for upgrading the history.
Yes. You'll be noted for spending the most money ever by anybody that was executive director at the BCWA. Remember that.
oh, I did pretty good in Pawtucket too. So.
You're the perfect
I
example
was
of
just gonna say,
spending
you
now because you can't take it with you.
You think she spent money here? I'll give you some numbers in Pawtucket.
Ah. All right.
All well worth it though.
Yes. Number 19, executive session, collective bargaining.
I sent a text to Joe Whalen.
I'm sorry?
I texted Joe Whalen to tell him to come back on.
Okay.
So we may need to let him in if he's out there.
Yeah.
Collective.
To make sure everyone that's supposed to be here is supposed to be here.
I'm going to say goodnight.
Okay.
Oh, Sue, before you go tonight, excellent job yesterday.
Yes.
Thank you.
Excellent.
Sue, yeah, great job.
It was a group effort. It wouldn't have been good if all the people speaking hadn't have been so good. So thank you to everybody that participated.
And the gifts were great. Whoever came up with them, especially that truck with the BCWA on it.
Nice touch.
Most definitely.
All right, take care. Bye, Pam.
Good night, Sue.
My suggestion, Bill, is go into executive session, and while we're waiting for John, we can go to number 3 and dispense with the minutes, approving those.
All right. But I should read collective bargaining pursuant to RIGL 42-46-5A2 and then executive session minutes. We're going to skip 1 and go right to 2. Is that what you're saying, Alan?
No, you can read them all 3, but when we go in there, you can start with the 3rd one while you're waiting for John.
But Joe's here.
Joe's here.
Oh, okay, he's here. Good.
Okay.
I move that we go in for the three reasons. General Law 42-46-5A2, 42-46-5A7, and to approve the minutes.
And just make sure that anybody who's not needed is not in the room.
and stop recording once we take the
Oh, yeah,
vote.
let me stop recording. I'll pause it.
Not you.
Okay.
We have a motion in a second. Everyone raise their hand or voice there's yay on the telephone.
Yay.
Okay, it's unanimous.
Okay.
I'll pause the recording.
We came out of executive session at 6:30.
Okay. Do we need a motion to seal the minutes of executive session?
Yes.
Okay.
Second.
So,
Moved.
Motion to seal the minutes?
is there a second?
Second.
Second. All those in favor signify by raising your hand or saying aye.
Aye.
Need a motion to adjourn?
Don't move.
So moved.
Before we adjourn, a procedural question for Joe. We are to destroy or return the executive committee minutes we had. Does that also apply to the materials we got for the committee hearings?
For the committee, you can, I mean,
Packages, and there's some of that is, to me, borderline sensitive. I don't know.
Confidential.
if it's an executive session, I mean, it'd be great not to have them around. I'm not going to make you destroy them, but.
I think there was a memo from Lauren that said to not return them to her.
Yeah, she asked that they be destroyed or
Yeah.
hand carried to her, not mailed to her.
Yeah, it's our responsibility to do with them that we
can do that.
see how this, should be disposed of.
Yeah.
Got a shredder.
Okay, so we have a motion to adjourn.
It's on the table.
Second. All those in favor by raising your hand or saying aye?
Aye.
Very
Bill,
good.
you did a great job. Sorry I wasn't there. Couldn't get
Well,
everybody on my screen.
As long as there's two of you, that's all that matters, Alan.
There we go.
Everyone have a good night.
Good night.
Great.
Have a good night.
All right. Steve, you're on your own. Starting tomorrow, I guess, but I have the support of everybody here, so congratulations.
Thank you. I'm not on my own. Got a good team.
Go on, everybody.
All right.
Okay.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.